WTBQ.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jeanine Panarelli, licensed real estate broker and owner of Panarelli Realty. I'm here with Michael Giannetto from Residential Home Funding, and you're listening to the Home and Mortgage Show.
Good morning. How are you?
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year.
Hope everybody had a healthy and happy, safe New Year.
Yes. And now we get ready for minus 10 degrees.
I don't think I've ever seen that on the weather report.
And I don't think that's with the wind chill either.
No.
No, so I have to get my son to chop the wood and build that fireplace.
I think I want to be
stove.
a meteorologist in my next life or when I grow up because...
Why? So that if you're wrong, it's okay?
You can't be wrong.
You can't be wrong.
You can't be wrong. They stand up there, they say it's going to be somewhere between 0 and 100 degrees. There's a 50% chance of precipitation, and there's some clouds and might be sun.
You never
Are
know.
you ever wrong?
No.
You know?
Well, let's see. They're saying we're supposed to get a lot of snow tonight.
Yeah,
and
a foot,
blizzard-like
right?
conditions. So I won't be coming out. This is it.
No.
I'm going to go in.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I got a lot of work to do. We were off for the holidays, so I got a lot to catch up on.
Yes.
But so we were talking last week about getting your house ready to be put on the market.
I think there's a lot of things
There's so much
cover
that people
with
need to
these
know.
things.
Yeah. We were talking about staging, and then we were talking a little bit about, if there are some repairs that need to be made, you should address them.
You should do them.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, I think I mentioned last week that I think a great idea is for a seller to get their own home inspection. Actually, I don't know if we covered that, but
No, maybe not.
yeah, I really think it's a good idea. It's money well spent for a few $100s. That seller can get the home inspection in. They know what the pitfalls may be if it comes to fruition, and they can address any of those problems or issues.
Yeah, that's the first thing buyers are looking for. A few things don't meet their standards after the home inspection. Oh, we need a $10,000 price reduction. We want another $10,000 off the price of the house because
Well, I also think that some buyers can be really unrealistic at times where they think that they're buying a new house, but it's not a new house. It's a 30-year-old house, and there's some minor things that are acceptable in my eyes, at least. That can be
even if you
I don't want to say
build a new
wrong
house.
with the house, but things that exist.
When you're a homeowner, there's constant maintenance. You have to do your annual repairs, annual maintenance. And there's no getting around that.
Well, as you know, when we deal with some of these purchases that we have an appraiser go in, and there's always some things to address on these appraisals, especially the FHA appraisals.
Right.
That there's a laundry list of things that they look for. Some of the obvious ones that some people may or may not know. The peeling paint around the windows and around the house.
That's huge.
Right? That's always a big one.
That's also big. A lot of people are starting to use that USDA.
Yes.
That's big for USDA, too.
USDA is an FHA appraisal. It's a conventional loan with an FHA appraisal.
Correct.
So it has to meet those FHA requirements.
People don't realize
the
that.
Appraisal.
Yeah, and you can't have
Correct.
peeling paint.
Correct. You can't have peeling paint, broken window, which might be a double pane, but one of them is broken and the other one's not, so they think it's not a big deal.
No, there's a... If anyone wants more information, if you'd like to do like your own self home check, give us a call. Mike can be reached. Actually, you can Facebook us.
Absolutely.
That's so easy. Send us a message on Facebook.
The Home and Mortgage Show.
Home and Mortgage Show on Facebook. You can do that. You can send
and
us an
our
email.
page as well, please.
You can send us an email, thehomeandmortgageshow@gmail.com. So you can call into the station. Hey, we're here today, so give us a call, 651-1110. If you have any questions, maybe you're thinking about putting your home on the market and you're not really sure what you need to fix, what you might be able to let slide. But one of the biggest things is if you've done any work to your home, if you bought the home with an unfinished bonus room and then you finished it, if you had an unfinished basement and then you finished it, that it gets me crazy. So you see, I get a little tongue-tied. If you put in a pool, a deck, a shed, anything like that, you need to have gone to the town building department and got your paperwork for your permits filed, for, and make sure you get your final. It's not just filing for the permit. You have to get it inspected and get your final inspection so that you can get your certificates at the end to say, okay, town knows about it, it's legal, it's up to code, you're good to go. Because how many times we put a property on the market, and I ask everybody, do you have all of your permits filed, your certificates of occupancy, your certificates of compliance? And they look at me with this blank expression on their face.
Let me ask you a question.
And I'm like, well, how long have you had that shed? It looks like it's been there for about 15 years. You didn't.
Let me ask you a question, because I've come up against it, when we're doing a mortgage for a buyer, or even a refinance for people, which I do as well, that there are these issues, right? And there was a realtor, that the listing agent, right, and the buying agent, that nobody asked the question.
I'm always asking questions.
Yeah.
My sellers hate me. No, they love me, but they
of course.
I have it's a procedure, and if I have and I have a couple right now, and on the bottom of my listing, I disclose that the sellers are in the process of getting their C of O. Paperwork has been filed. Final inspection will be done next week. I try and put that out there because it does affect the buyer.
Why is that not done as a norm? It should almost be a question on a listing agreement.
You're right.
Do you have a pool? Do you have a deck? Do you have a finished
basement?
basement?
I go on there, I walk through the whole house. I walk through the yard. I take a look at everything. But, people have reasons for why they don't do what they do. Or they hired someone to do the work, and they assumed that the contractor filed the permits and did everything that they were supposed to do. They're hiring a professional, so they're leaving it to the professional, and the professional did not do what they were supposed to do. I have that on several situations
I've
that I'm
definitely
dealing
seen
with
that
now.
as well.
So you have to, if you're hiring a contractor, make sure you follow up and say, look, did you file with the town? Did you get all of your inspections?
But wait, let me go back to my original question.
Let me go back to my original question. Am I avoiding a question?
Yes.
Yes.
No,
okay.
you're not. No, so, why isn't it a norm that these things are asked where, I'll give you a perfect example. I just had a transaction that was being worked on, and there was a deck in the back of the house. There was also there was also an above ground pool, and nobody had addressed it.
People don't know.
Nobody had addressed it.
They don't have the education on what they need to what to do. So we have a listener on the line.
Hello.
Good morning. Hi.
Good morning. How are you?
It's George from Blooming Grove.
George,
Hello,
how are
George.
you?
Pretty good. I don't know why, but I'm almost related to everything.
Okay.
But anyway,
are you related to me?
Well, no, a lot of the topics, and I just wanted to mention something. The thing that I've seen happen in the past, which you're talking about in general, but why it's so important, people underestimate it, and why it's so important. The taxes that you're planning to pay on a house that you're purchasing are based on what the paperwork was, when it was evaluated. If somebody's put in a pool or sheds or and not all sheds are taxable, and it varies between the
municipalities. Isn't it? I think it's 200 square feet or less.
People don't file because they're afraid that taxes are going to go up.
Right. So what happens, and I've seen this happen multiple times, somebody's getting ready to sell the house, they go in, they file the paperwork, they get that finished basement, they get that big pool with a gazebo on it and the big shed and everything. So now everything's done, everybody's happy. And then you move into your house, and a couple of months later, somebody from the assessor's office comes by and says, oh, well, we're reevaluating your house because now you have the building permit. You got the building permit and CO for the basement and the pool and the shed and stuff. So when you're going there and you think you're going to be paying, like $10,000 a year in taxes, all of a sudden the next year it goes up to $12,000 because you've added these amenities. So, people should really, if you're thinking about buying a property, you can go online now. You can go on the Orange County government website.
Yes.
And you can look up any property in Orange County and any property in any state that I know of. And look and
George,
see what they have.
George, that's also my. I don't know if you listened to the show a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about tax assessments, and one of my issues with the tax assessing or the home assessing is that it's subjective. And in my opinion, there should be a standard of this house is X square feet. This house has, these amenities or these outbuildings.
So let me ask you this: if there should be you have a 27-foot round pool. That should be worth the same amount of taxes for everybody in Orange County. Whoever has a 27-foot round pool, they all pay the same amount.
Correct.
Is that the way it is, though? No.
No, it's not, because it's subjective to the assessor. One assessor,
right.
It's going to be a taxable event, but one assessor is going to look at things that are on the property, a pool or other things that, once they're affixed to the property,
right.
they consider it taxable.
Right.
But there's other assessors that may not, depending on what it is.
That's why above-ground pools aren't taxed and in-ground pools are. But, I mean, the problem you have, though, is a pool with a house in Tuxedo is different than a pool at a house in Mountain Lodge. And, the overall value, the possible maximum value of a house, say, in Mountain Lodge is totally different than the maximum value of a house in
Agreed.
Tuxedo. So there are variations. And, if people actually get their record and look up their record, and you can go to the local assessor's office and get a copy of your record, a lot of times people will find out the houses are, maybe no one has been there in 20 years, and the house is smaller or even bigger than it was. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the taxes are always going to go up when it's reevaluated. Sometimes it was the taxes were higher than they should have been at some point. And
we talked about that too.
Shed or something,
absolutely,
the taxes might actually go down because you might, now you've got a house. When it was assessed, it was a brand new house, and now it's 20 years old, like you were saying.
Right,
but it's complicated.
It is complicated, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to paint the 100% real picture for the buyer. If you buy this house, this is what you're looking at. So that's what we're trying to do. But George,
one of the best ways to do that, like I said, is go to the assessor's office, go on the Orange County government website or Sullivan County or wherever you happen to be, and look and see what they actually have. It's all public record. A lot of times they'll have a drawing. A lot of times they'll have a picture of the property. And I was just in a situation where they were taxing the house with an in-ground pool. Well, the in-ground pool had like a 4-inch tree growing out of the bottom of it.
Oh, my goodness.
Hadn't held water in, 20 years.
They're not swimming this summer.
You take, you can do those types of things. But
all right.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much,
for calling
George.
in.
Thanks so much. We're going to take a quick break and be right back.
Happy New Year! Now celebrate by gifting yourself and your family with a new kitchen and let the professionals at Hudson Valley Kitchen Design take your dreams and make them into a reality, from concept to installation and everything in between. Our well-trained, courteous staff will customize your new kitchen while keeping it within your budget. Start living the dream by calling 845-294-8242, and we'll have you cooking on your new stove in no time. For all the do-it-yourselfers, builders, and contractors, we invite you to our retail showroom located at 2713 Route 17M in Goshen. And please like us on Facebook at the Hudson Valley Kitchen Design. Call 845-294-9068. We will make your dreams a reality in 2014.
Hi, this is Ed Lynch, host of the Edward Jones Daily Stock Market Update. Tune in every weekday at 6 p.m. to get the Daily Stock Market Update, along with great insights for making sense of investing, right here on WTBQ.
Hey everybody, this is Rachel Ray. Join me today and every weekday with Rach on the radio. I'll have tips to save you money, celebrity chit-chat, and of course, food. All from the kitchen table of our Emmy Award-winning show, Rachel Ray.
Weekdays at 12:30.
WTBQ.
Hi, good morning again. You're joining the Home and Mortgage Show with Michael Giannetto with Residential Home Funding and Jeanine Panarelli, broker-owner of Panarelli Realty. I would love to thank Hudson Valley Kitchen Design. For anyone that does or does not know about them, they're located over in New Hampton. Their showroom is beautiful. They do a great job, personal experience, so go visit them over in New Hampton.
So that was good information George gave us, but we're going to talk a little bit about how.
Well, actually, before we get into anything else,
Sure.
going back to some of the things that George mentioned, this is personal experience.
Okay.
I have above a room, I have a dormer window
Mm-hmm.
that happens to be in my attic, and it's a fake dormer window. Okay, and my assessment
Mm-hmm.
was done based on the wrong square footage because somebody had driven past the house.
They thought it was a finished
And
room.
they thought it was a
there?
finished room, and they had added 432 square feet
Ooh.
to my house, and I was being taxed on it for a couple of years until I went in to grieve the assessment and found out and saw the square footage and said, "Wait a second, my house isn't that large,"
Right.
and started digging into it, and this is why. So
it's
I'm
all
sure this goes
public record,
on
so
all
everybody
the time.
should check their tax records, not just the taxes itself, but to make sure that if there's I've had a situation where somebody took their garage down, and it was still on their records. So it's good to check every now and then. But the biggest thing I have is if you finished your basement, or you finished that bonus room, and now I'm bringing the buyer. Now, like what George said, I do pull tax records for my buyers. So if they're really interested in a listing, I pull the tax records and I compare it to the listing, and I say, okay, well, this says finished bonus room on the listing, but it doesn't say it on the tax records. What's the deal? The deal with this? And I call the whoever the realtor is, and I say, look, do they have the C of O for this? Do they have this? And as a buyer's agent, I can go to any municipality and say, look, I have a buyer interested in this property. Can I see the property card on this? And they'll, it's public record. They'll give it to you. But my question to you is, what happens when you have that, listed 3-bedroom house, and now it's really only a 2-bedroom? It was a dining room converted into a 3rd bedroom. And, people have to understand that this affects the appraised value. So I understand they're trying to squeeze out as much value as they possibly can by saying they have this, this, and this. But if it's not legal, if it's not real, and they get caught, a lot of buyers are concerned, well, I like it like this, but I'm not willing to pay X for this. And then what happens when I need to sell? I have to turn around and then I sell it. I don't want to overpay or say that. And then when I sell it, now I can't sell it as a 3-bedroom. It's really only a 2 with an extra room.
I think. Go ahead.
No,
thought.
go ahead.
So I think that the years past before the crisis, right? There was the selling.
A lot of that
was
was
going
overlooked.
On. It was overlooked.
A lot of that
Nobody
was
cared.
overlooked.
The investors didn't care. The banks didn't care.
Yeah.
They didn't ask for the COs or what they call the municipal searches. Now they ask for the municipal searches on everything.
Right.
So just to tell you, like, I have a couple of banks that I can go to that may not ask for municipal searches, and we have to take a loan there because for that reason, right? And it's rare, but only in a refinance situation can you use it.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, we have municipal search done on all of our purchases.
Yes. On the purchases, they have to be done.
But a refi, no.
But if it comes back, and now title companies do not insure those things.
Okay.
Right? They don't insure if there's against violations and against the CO issue or things like that. They don't insure it. So the title company has no problem in still providing title insurance on a transaction. Right. But it comes back to the attorney. The attorney says, "Whoa, wait a second. This is not clear title. They shouldn't be allowing their buyer, their client, to purchase the property with a cloud on title or something wrong with, an open permit or a violation. And they could be minor, but." These are things that happen every day.
I've had, this is interesting. I've had where I put a listing in, and I've had where the seller says to me, I bought the house like this. I've been living here for 12 years. This is the way it came. I've done no work to the house. We put the listing in, and then I've had the building inspector from that municipality call that homeowner because they looked at the listing.
Yes.
They look at the listing and say, you
I
have
would
listed
love
as
to
a
know.
finished basement. My seller called me up hysterical. She's like, but I have paperwork. I bought the house like this. And the building inspector said, no, we have no record of you having a finished basement. Now, we have a buyer for this property. We're in contract. We're getting ready to close. and now we have a problem.
Oh, no.
So that's why it is so important that, in the beginning, an extra hour of time put into this, a little bit of research, pull all your documents, get your CFOs out. When you bought the house or any work that you've done, you should have a folder. Right? Keep all your permits, keep all your CFOs in a folder. This way you can present it, because maybe the town lost it. Maybe the town moved their office. Something, things do happen.
Right.
But more importantly, I've had where, unfortunate, unforeseen circumstances do happen. And people have
that
to
happens
sell.
every day.
And people
Most
have
people
to sell.
know what
and
they do or don't have.
Yeah,
most people know.
And
that.
sometimes they, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to work on it. We're going to get it. I'm going to make the call to the inspector. We'll get it taken care of. But sometimes something happens, and then you have to put the house on the market in a hurry, and you're not prepared. And then
you know what I'm curious to know?
Yeah.
That I've experienced this over the last couple of years, where the municipalities, once those municipal searches are ordered through a title company, that somebody in the municipality, whether it's a building inspector or somebody, they are actually going by these houses, and these building inspectors are actually finding things that they're doing their job.
Oh, yeah.
They're finding things on these properties, like a shed, like a pool, and now there's a violation all of a sudden, right? So it wasn't there. There were no violations before. Nothing was an issue until that was ordered. They did that drive-by, and now it's something that's popping up.
Well, that needs to be addressed.
No.
But
do you know if they go there on all these occasions? Do you know?
I know many of them do. Yeah, they do go. I've met with the Village of Florida building inspector, Adrian Matosian. He goes, I meet him right at the house. And he has his property file, and we go through the house, and he makes sure that everything's up to snuff. And, it protects everybody all the way around. I've had one instance where we closed on a property, and the buyer was moving in. And as the buyer was moving in, a building inspector pulled up. I won't mention the municipality, but the building inspector pulled up, congratulated the new homeowner on their purchase, and then slapped him with a violation for the deck.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding?
And we were like, excuse me?
I would have had a heart attack.
Oh, well, these people were not happy. And
well, that's a problem. I mean, that's a problem when you go back to the title search and the attorney. That falls on the attorney at that point.
Yeah. So we really try and dot our I's and cross our T's as much as we can, because we're trying to protect our clients. That's what it comes down to. We're trying to protect our clients. They're going into a house. We don't want them to have to, file for permits and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty easy, and it's not that expensive to do. I know when we did ours, it was like $125 or something like that to file for the permit. It's inexpensive. It's inexpensive, and it's nothing.
People that think that their taxes are going to be affected so harshly,
it's really
they're
nothing.
Really not. It might be a couple of $100 for the year when they add something to that property.
It's not a lot, and we had to have. Well, it was a couple of inspections actually. So the building inspector came out, and we also had to have an electrical inspection. Like if you're doing the pool or anything that has electric, you have to get an electrical inspector to come out and sign off on it. Submit that to the town so that they have that. So I think it was like $100 for this, $100 for that. So it was relatively inexpensive. But if you got to sell, now you're not.
I think another thing I want to do when I grow up is be an electrician. Because anything you do around your house, the electrical costs you as much as whatever the rest of the project does. That's great. Yeah. Those guys are great, but you need them.
And it's also too, if a buyer's expecting to, let's say they have to be in a house by February 1st, March 1st, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden we have this hiccup in the road, and now they're not out of where they are. They have to be in, or they have a buyer for their house, and they need to get in. It's this whole domino effect in real estate. So one little hiccup can affect 5 families. It's crazy. It's crazy. So you really need to make sure that you have all of that in place. That's one of the things that you're getting your house ready to be put on the market. Besides staging and painting, just go down to your local municipality and make sure that everything
find out that information.
Yeah. So
good idea for everyone.
Yeah, it's good to do. Saves everybody a lot of headaches, especially the realtor.
A lot of brain damage.
Especially the realtor.
Yeah.
But I want to remind everybody that you can find us on Facebook at the Home and Mortgage Show. You can find us just online. We do post our shows every week. We have a YouTube channel, The Home and Mortgage Show. If anybody has any questions, if they'd like me to come and take a look at their home, their property, see what they might have to do, they can reach us online, send us a message, send us an email. We'd be happy to come on out. Happy to help.
And thank you for joining us today.
Have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.